are wondering, when does XDefiant come out?
That's a terrible question.
What happened to XDefiant? It's a question that I get asked a lot when I'm streaming or even in my YouTube comments, and I'm sure a lot of you guys want to know, what happened to this game? It's been being developed by Ubisoft for years now. They've had insider tests, and not even that long ago, a couple months ago, we had access to a beta version of the game that essentially everyone could play. According to Mark Rubin himself, there were over 2.5 million people that played the XDefiant beta, which was significantly more players than they were even expecting. So a lot of us want to know what happens to the Call of Duty killer, and when is the game coming out? That's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get you guys all caught up. I've been sorting and sifting through all of the XDefiant news that I could find from multiple sources, so that way I can get you guys caught up, and that way we could try to figure out when this game is actually going to be coming out. So let's dive in. To really get started with all of this, we need to back things up to around early July. At this time, this was the first update that we had gotten about XDefiant in quite a while, and it was from the official accounts. They said, a small update as we're continuing to review feedback from the open session. Plan is still to launch later this summer. The launch will be on PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X/S. We're working on last-gen platforms for later. We'll provide more updates as they're available. Now, what was super ironic about this tweet is that the calendar emoji says July 17th, which would have meant that this was only going to be 10 days later, but they followed that up. They even said when people think you're teasing release, but it just looked like a cute calendar emoji in the preview. So yeah, this was the first major update that we got since the beta in June. And while it obviously was not going to be released on July 17th, 10 days later after this tweet, they did still say that the game is going to launch later this summer. And after some intense investigative journalism, I googled when does summer end, and it's going to end September 23rd. So even though we're still in September and it absolutely doesn't really feel like summer anymore, we still have some time. Now, around the same time, we had an update from Mark Rubin, and he had said, "Hi all, just wanted to give you an update on where we are after the open session. We got a lot of great info from that test and are now working towards our candidate master. Once approved, we will be able to launch. This is a process that could take some time though, so please bear with us. Still aiming for later this summer. To be clear, we will be launching on PC, PS5, and Xbox X/S, aka current gen, first, with other platforms coming later. We'll update again as soon as we have more info." So you know, this was essentially the same tweet that went out on the official XDefiant account, but he just gave it a little bit more context. Now, these updates were shared with us on July 7th, so let's fast forward to the next update, which is on July 30th. Mark Rubin had tweeted saying, "Quick insight into what's going on right now. We are in the process of getting approved by first parties, but because this is our first time getting this version of the engine through certification, it's going to take a bit longer than usual. Don't worry, as soon as I have more info, I will share it. Also, I know it's been some time since our beta already, and I know usually that means launch is soon after, but for us, as we've done in the past, our betas are real tests and not marketing moments. Normally, a game would already be certing when the beta goes live, but we used our beta as a real test to make the game better. Hope this all makes sense."
Smiley face.
Also, this is just an update on the process. Nothing has changed on our anticipated release timeframe. Although we are still on track, we won't really know until we get reports back from first parties on our submission. So at this point in time, they're basically just waiting for XDefiant to get approved by the first parties for the certification for that version of the game to pass. This is a pretty typical process that a lot of video games go through, but hopefully once that test of the game gets approved, then they can move forward and get closer to releasing the game. That's what we all thought was going to happen back on July 30th, but it's been a lot more time since then. And to this day, we still cannot play XDefiant, so what's going on? Fast forward to roughly a month later after this post, and we get another update from Mark Rubin. He shared this picture with us, which had a text document explaining some more of the things that were going on. Mark says here, "Hey all, I know it's been quiet, and I apologize for that. We're in a phase where we are submitting XDefiant for release and squashing any last-minute bugs. And on a new IP, i.e. not a sequel to a sequel to a sequel, we are taking the time to get those steps right. I love how excited everyone is about our game. We've reached many more people than we ever expected already, and I share your frustration on just wanting to be able to play. But unlike what my mom thinks, making a game isn't all fun and games. And not every part of the process is as fun as others, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The team is hard at work, and we are making progress every day to get the game in your hands as soon as it's ready. Thank you again to everyone for being fans of our game, and I hope to see you all soon in game." Now, just so we're all on the same page, this update is coming roughly a month after the previous update, and they're still just trying to get everything finished for the game. Now, that update came out on August 23rd, and there's only really been one significant update since then, and it's roughly a week later. On August 29th, Mark Rubin tweeted this: "So I've seen the PEGI approvals going live and creating rumors about the game being approved. This is not the case. It literally just means that PEGI has approved the rating that they have assigned to the game. It's completely disconnected from submission. I'm hoping to have another update soon." And just so it makes sense, what we do during our submission process is something we have to do. When we are allowed to launch is dependent on that process. We are not able to just release the game whenever we want. want. Also, I'm happy to chat about the process or really any game development questions that aren't specific to XDefiant. So if you have questions, feel free to send them my way and I'll try to answer them. Now, I do want to specifically highlight this portion of the tweet which says we are not able to just release the game whenever we want. And I did some digging on this as well, and they basically have confirmed that XDefiant is not going to be shadow dropped. If you're not familiar with the term shadow drop, it essentially just means releasing the video game whenever. It is something that could potentially backfire because you can't build up hype, you can't market the game necessarily, but we have seen this succeed with some other games before, like Apex Legends, where if I'm not mistaken, the game was announced and released on the same day. I thought that was pretty dope, and it can be a really good strategy, but only in certain circumstances. Now, at the time of recording this video, it's September 4th, and we don't have any more public updates from Mark Rubin or the XDefiant Twitter account, but Mark Rubin has actually been pretty sneaky on Twitter recently, and some of his replies actually give away even more info about XDefiant. So let's check them out. Any more smaller media maps? I really liked the arena map, even though it was sweaty in the beta. Is there going to be a arena shipment 24/7 style playlist? Also, any dark blue camos gun plans? It's Twitter. But Mark did reply saying, I think you'll like the first map we released for season 1. Did Mark Rubin just kind of casually hint at the idea that XDefiant is going to be getting a tiny square map like we have in Call of Duty, like something similar to shipments? Because if we do, that will be pretty insane for grinding. Yeah, he just casually dropped that info like 3 hours ago. So the game's been played for 2 years, been in a tournament, and is still not ready for release. The beta felt better than most FPS games out there, but yet still not release ready. You've received confirmation for release and yet no release date. What exactly are we waiting on? He replied back saying, I'll take that as a huge compliment. But yeah, there was a lot of back-end stuff. Server, anti-cheat, store, compliance stuff that hadn't been done yet. All we had was solid gameplay, but none of the less visible stuff you don't see. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is why Fortnite remained in beta access for quite a while. Like, it was never really considered a full game. It remained in a beta stage for quite a while. I don't even know if that's still how it is, because I haven't played Fortnite in a super long time. But what it seems like is when you go through this full process of being fully certified and ready to go, it just takes more time. And I think what Mark is trying to express to us is that there's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's going on with the game, a lot of stuff that other AAA studios typically do not share with the community. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how transparent he's being with this process. I'm starting to fear for this game release too close to CODs. I hope people still play it. Mark responded saying, we will always have to deal with whatever the COD of the year is. We want this game to be going for many years. So we just have to accept the timing and do our best to be the game we want to be. I think it's really interesting that he's replying to people that are asking these questions and just being so forthright about it. I know a lot of us have unofficially labeled XDefiant the Call of Duty killer, but we also know that it's not going to kill Call of Duty. It is going to compete right alongside Call of Duty without a doubt because they're both FPS games, and clearly XDefiant has more of the classic Call of Duty formula than the current Call of Duty games. But realistically, man, I mean, I'm going to be playing Modern Warfare 3. I'm going to be playing XDefiant, and as far as it goes for which one I'll pour more time into, that's going to boil down to which one I have the most fun with and which one I enjoy playing the most, and also which game you guys like watching the most. But it's as simple as that one meme, man. Why not both? These video games don't need to kill each other, and I don't think that's really even the point. The overall vibe that I got from playing XDefiant is that they realize that Call of Duty has not been itself for quite some time, so they're gonna step in and do that. But so far, this is the most interesting tweet and reply that I've seen from Mark. It does confirm that XDefiant is going to have a life cycle for multiple years. That's not going to get phased out year after year like it is with Call of Duty. And he also said that they have to accept the timing and just do their best to be the game that they want to be. So this could potentially be hinting at the idea that XDefiant could end up being released roughly around the time of the Modern Warfare 3 beta or the full release of the game. But towards the end of this video, I will share my final thoughts about when I think the game's actually going to be released. Let's keep checking out some tweets. Yo, Shadow Snorlax here said, maybe try hardcore as a limited time playlist as a test and get feedback from that. Mark replied saying, we plan on using LTMs in just that way, so maybe. Okay, I mean, we might be getting hardcore in XDefiant. I know I would have a lot of fun with that. Someone said, please drop Search and Destroy in this game, and he had said, we are because so many people asked for it. Well, there you go. Search and Destroy is confirmed for XDefiant. Now, unfortunately, there is this long chain of Mark replying to a troll on Twitter, which is pretty common, but Mark actually did end up sharing some pretty juicy info right here. The reason is simple that we don't have a release date that we are sharing. When a game normally launches, it either just drops right after marketing starts, so the first you hear of it is after it's basically ready to ship, or the release date is targeted long in advance and the team crunches. I don't want our team crunching, and instead of only marketing the game once it's nearly ready, we had people playing for almost 2 years before launch because we wanted to involve players early to have them be a part of development. Boom! This is why we love Mark Rubin. He's a man of the people. He wants wants us playing the game. He wants us to be involved as a community. But guys, this is the last reply from Mark Rubin, and it has to do with the release date of the game. Someone tweeted at him saying having to watch that tournament and not being able to play is horrible. He responded by saying, I feel it too. I wish it were coming out this weekend, but we have to abide by the process. And we won't be shadow dropping it, so you will have time to preload, etc. So once again, this is confirming that XDefiant will not be shadow dropped or just randomly released at any given point in time. I'm going to assume that internally they do have a planned release date, but they still have to wait for the game to be approved and go through all the certification and stuff before they can actually officially release the game. But since there weren't any tweets that explicitly said when XDefiant is going to be released, that still begs the question, when is XDefiant going to be coming out? Based off of everything that I've read and shared with you guys, I have two guesses. My first guess is September 22nd, 2023. Now, the reason this is my first guess is because this falls in line with their original tweet saying that they plan to launch later this summer, one day before summer ends, but it still gives them roughly a couple of weeks to hype up the release of the game, but it could be cutting it a little too close. From all of these updates that we've gotten over the months, it seems like it could take more time for them to have the game fully ready. On top of the fact that it seems like they want to have some more time to be able to market the game before it's actually fully out. Which leads me to my second guess for the XDefiant release date, December 22nd. Now, I'm well aware that this doesn't line up with this original tweet from them saying the plan is still to launch later this summer, but that's kind of the whole purpose of this guess. They were saying that the plan is still to launch later this summer. That doesn't mean that it is going to. And from all of the tweets and info shared from July and August and September so far, it actually seems like things might not be going completely to plan and that it's taking more time than they expected. From what I've seen so far, it seems like they really want to take their time and make sure that the game is ready to go and basically perfect before releasing the game and having us play it, and then it's not ready, and then people have complaints, and then they stop playing the game, which is absolutely crucial because guess what game is also going to be coming out this year? Modern Warfare 3. If we take a look at this year's Call of Duty schedule, as you can see right here, the Modern Warfare 3 beta is basically going to be taking up most of the month of October, at least early on. But one more thing that we know for sure now is that the campaign for Modern Warfare 3 is also going to have early access if you pre-order the game. And look, man, even though people are feeling kind of iffy about Modern Warfare 3, even myself included, I know for a fact that once the beta is playable at the start of October and then the game fully releases, people will be sucked into playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 for at least roughly a month or two, which is exactly why my guess for the later release date for XDefiant is December 22nd. By the time Modern Warfare 3 fully releases on October 28th, people will be playing the game for roughly a month or so, and if this game repeats the mistakes of last year, it's only going to have a honeymoon phase of roughly a month before people start getting tired of the game and they want more content, they want significant gameplay changes. And again, if we have a repeat of last year, they might not be able to deliver on those promises, and that would be the prime moment for XDefiant to get released and then step in and fill that void, fill the gap. Now again, I want to make it abundantly clear, those are just my two guesses. I essentially have the early release date guess and then the late release date guess. We still have no official confirmation of when XDefiant is going to be released and when we can actually play the game, but hopefully this video gave you guys some more info and insight as to what's been going on. This year for 2023, it's definitely going to be Modern Warfare 3 versus XDefiant, and it's going to be really interesting to see which game people enjoy playing the most and have the most fun with. But with that being said, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this little update video on what's been going on with XDefiant. If you guys did enjoy this video and you want XDefiant to get shadow dropped right now, make sure to drop a like. I'll see you guys later.
Outcome, Triangle.